Christmas Day is coming less than a week from now. People are shopping, cooking, cleaning, sending cards and gifts. And some of us may feel relief a bit when maybe the worst of the COVID crisis has passed. But some of us may feel scary when a new variant comes out. I myself still feel the pain of those who suffer from loneliness or sickness or sadness or loss. Those who are dealing with uncertainty and pain of health problems, either personally, in your family, or among your close friends. Like many priests with whom people share their pain, I know that Christmas is not jingle bells on the way for everybody out there. The first Christmas was certainly a day of promise, but was also a day of pain. Mary and Joseph were away from home. Jesus was born in a barn. Herod was out to kill the newborn Jesus. But in spite of all of that, the incredible love of God for us has been shining through. God became man, the Word made flesh, and dwelt among us and redeemed us. He is Emmanuel, God with us. So today is the first Sunday of Advent as we continue to prepare for the coming of the Lord. The church invites us to focus on Jesus and join Mary in her preparation and rejoicing at the birth of her Son. During Advent, we have been hearing that the Messiah will be born of David's line and to take up David's kingdom forever. And from the first reading today, we have learned that the prophet Micah clearly announced that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem, the city of David. Bethlehem is a small city, but it is the city of kings. It's where King David grew up, and later it was there Jesus was born. And in the gospel, we hear that Mary went in haste to the hill country. And then, when she greeted Elizabeth, the baby John leaped for joy. We have heard this story so many times, and we can learn so many lessons from that. But today, I'd like to share with you a beautiful meaning of this story. The story of visitation of Mary to Elizabeth has a beautiful meaning about God in search of man, and Mary in bringing God to people. Mary is called the Ark of the Covenant because she carried the Word of God inside her womb. And in Jesus, we see God in the flesh. If we read the Old Testament, we know that when God liberated the people of Israel from Egypt, He led them through the desert. And one day, on Mount Sinai, God gave Moses 10 commandments written on 2 tablets of stone. And the stone tablets were put in a golden chest, which is called the Ark of the Covenant. And to the people of Israel, the Ark was so important because it was the physical presence of God before them, to remind them that God is always near to them. So whenever they went, they carried the ark with them. They would like God to be among them. And we know that later, when David brought the ark into the city, David danced and lived with joy before the Ark of the Covenant. So in the same way, St. Luke wishes to convey that John the Baptist represents David, who danced in front of the Ark of the Covenant, because Jesus is God's covenant, and Mary is truly the Ark of the Covenant. I don't know how happy John the Baptist was, but I'm sure that he very, very happy, because imagine that he lived for joy. And David is the king, but he lived for joy before the Ark of the Covenant, before the presence of God. I wish that my life also experienced that, the joy before the presence of the Lord. I promise that I'm working on that, but I wish that each of you still fight it. David and John the Baptist recognized the presence of God. They lived for joy. So we are invited to imitate them, to recognize the Lord when He comes before us. May we recognize the presence of God in the poor, in the weak, in the needy. May we recognize Christ in our family members, especially that we have to get together at Christmas. May we especially recognize Christ's presence in the Eucharist. And may God help us recognize the presence of Christ in our midst, and we have joy. And today, we are especially invited to imitate Mary as the Ark of the Covenant. We are challenged to ask ourselves how we are bearers of Christ to others. When we are filled with blessings and grace and joy from God, and especially when we receive the Eucharist into our bodies, we become living tabernacles of the Lord, little arks of the covenant. We are called to help others to recognize Christ's presence, just as Mary did for John and Elizabeth. We are called to do all things with love and kindness. My brothers and sisters, today we stand before the Lord, who is present to us in Mary, in each other, and especially in the Eucharist. May we have the faith to recognize Him, the courage to reveal Him to others, and the gratitude to rejoice and give praise for all He has done for us.